Welcome to Deep Dive, the daily podcast from Career Spotlight Academy, where we take you beyond the surface of today's most exciting careers. From STEM to entrepreneurship, we'll explore the ins and outs of industries shaping the future. Get ready for expert insights, real-world advice, and a look into the skills you need to succeed. Let's dive into your future, one career at a time. Let's take that deep dive with Career Spotlight Academy.
All right, get ready to dive into the world of bootstrapping with us today. We're ditching the silver spoon and talking about building an empire with grit, ingenuity, and maybe even a little duct tape.
Sounds scrappy.
You know it. We're unlocking secrets from 25 founders who've been there and done that, built businesses from the ground up their way. So think of this deep dive as your cheat sheet to entrepreneurial success, totally unnoided.
And what's remarkable is the sheer diversity of these founders and their journeys. We're talking seasoned CEOs, fresh-faced startups, everyone in between, all sharing hard-won practical lessons.
Right, because when we say bootstrapping, we don't just mean penny pinching, right?
Absolutely not. It's about ingenuity at its finest. Take Lisa Mastella from Bump and Blends. To make sure she was turning a profit from, day one, she tapped into the power of influencer marketing. But
there's a but.
There's always a but. Instead of blowing her budget on big-name influencers, she found a way to partner with, what do they call them? Micro-influencers.
Yeah, in the health and wellness space. Right.
Exactly. Think free products, affiliate commissions. She was super strategic about stretching every dollar.
That's brilliant. So she found a way to reach a specific audience without breaking the bank. Did that strategy still work as Bump and Blends got bigger?
It did. It goes to show you that those early limitations can actually spark some seriously creative solutions that, end up scaling with you.
Right.
And Lisa's not the only one. Lindsay Need from Parker Management had a similar experience, saying that bootstrapping forced them to really hone in on their spending and get seriously resourceful with their problem solving.
It makes you wonder, right, if having too much money too soon could actually hold you back.
It's an interesting thought.
It is, but then there's always that pressure to grow, Juro W. How do these founders balance that with running a lean ship?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Some, like Bradley Keenan from DSMN8, actually put cultural fit above everything else.
Really? Even if it means slower growth, that's a bold move, especially these days.
It might sound counterintuitive, but get this. They actually kept their entire workforce during that recent downturn.
Wow.
While other companies were making cuts.
Wow.
This focus on their people, it did wonders for their company culture, and honestly, it meant they were in a way stronger position when the economy stabilized.
Okay, I see the long game here. Investing in your people creates loyalty, attracts the best talent, ultimately sets you up for more sustainable growth.
Exactly.
But what about marketing? You gotta get the word out somehow, right?
Absolutely. You can't just sit back and expect customers to magically appear.
No.
Some of these founders got seriously inventive. Remember Wang Zheng from Belt BUI?
Vaguely, remind me.
So they make belts, right.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have a ton of money to throw around on marketing.
Right.
So they got resourceful, partnered up with social media influencers, went to industry events, really networked their way to success.
It's giving very Olivia Chaloup on X, formerly Twitter, vibes. 6 figures in 3 months. Talk about bootstrapping magic. Was that just luck, though, or is there a method to that madness?
Okay, so Olivia, total example of someone who combines hard work and out-of-the-box thinking.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. She didn't just stumble onto something that worked once. She figured out what resonated, what people responded to, built a process, and basically structured her entire business around repeating those strategies.
Smart. So it's about turning those early wins into something you can replicate again and again.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got lean innovation, building a strong culture, and savvy marketing. What else should we steal from the bootstrapping playbook?
Oh, something so simple, but so many people overlook it. Listening to your customers.
Preach. I feel like I'm always saying that. Give me an example, though, that will really drive this point home for our listeners.
All right, picture this. Stuart Townsend, Podcast Hawk. They needed to spread the word about their podcast booking platform, right?
Right. Get more clients.
Exactly. So what did they do? They used their own product to become guests on podcasts.
Whoa. Talking about meta marketing. They literally practiced what they preached.
Right. It's a perfect example of thinking outside the box when it comes to traditional advertising. Sometimes the best resources are right under your nose. You just have to get a little creative.
I am loving this theme of resourcefulness. It feels like the unofficial motto of this whole deep dive.
Right.
So speaking of making the most of what you've got, how about we talk about discipline and focus?
Absolutely. Because when you're bootstrapping, saying no can be just as important as saying yes.
Okay, let's unpack that. I know how tempting it can be to chase every opportunity when you're first starting out.
Especially when you're eager to please everyone who expresses even a tiny bit of interest in your business.
Oh, tell me about it.
But take it from Dennis LeClaire of Trellis. Learning to say no is vital. They were approached by a potential investor who was offering a significant chunk of funding, but
There's always a but.
there is. They wanted Trellis to shift their focus to a different market.
Ooh, that's a tough one. On the one hand, a cash injection, but on the other, potentially changing your whole vision. What did they do?
They took a deep breath and they declined the offer.
Hmm.
Politely, of course.
Wow. Turning down, what, potentially a huge amount of money. They must have had second thoughts.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But Dennis and the whole team, they realized that taking that investment, it would mean going against what they were passionate about.
Yeah.
They would have to rebuild their company culture. And who knows what would have happened to their customer base. It just wasn't a risk they were willing to take.
Talk about sticking to their guns. That's a powerful reminder that not all money is good money. Sometimes saying no is the best thing you can do for yourself and your business.
100%.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to a bigger theme we're seeing in all of these stories. It's about unconventional thinking. When you're not, stuck with those traditional venture capital rules, you can experiment. You find what works for you.
Okay, now those are the stories I like to hear.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of a founder who really just, threw out the rule book?
Okay, let's talk about Maya Smith,
Yeah.
the brains behind the Do, the hair care line.
Yeah.
So she realized she had this gold mine of feedback just sitting right there.
Where?
Her loyal salon clients.
Oh,
She turned them into a focus group,
smart.
gathering insights, testing new products, just building a community around her brand before it even launched.
Okay, that is next level. It's like having a built-in market research team who also happen to love everything you do. Talk about a win-win.
Totally. And speaking of maximizing what you've got, Lucy Voves, she built Churchill Classics, the diploma frame company, for millions of dollars.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
She built it all from her basement.
Wait, from her basement. Okay, hold up. How does that even happen?
It's like the ultimate started from the bottom, now we hear story.
Right.
She started small, selling frames at a college commencement ceremony nearby,
Okay.
just to test the waters.
Yeah.
Once she saw that little spark, that people liked what she was selling, she hustled, got her foot in the door at some of the college bookstores, and basically just grew from there, campus by campus.
That's so smart. Why reinvent the wheel? Find what works and make it bigger. I love that she wasn't afraid to think big, even though she started small. You don't need a fancy office, a huge team to create something incredible.
It's true. And looking back, Lissy said the advice she would give is so simple. Use your local connections.
Yeah. Network.
She wishes she had done that sooner.
Makes sense. I bet having people she could go to, not even just for business advice, but for support, that's got to be invaluable. Starting a business, it's like a roller coaster, right?
Totally. Joining local business groups, going to those industry events. Yeah. It's not just about handing your business card out. It's about surrounding yourself with people who get it, who understand what it takes to build something new.
It's true. It's easy to get so caught up in the day-to-day stuff that you forget to, come up for air.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get stuck in that bubble.
Yeah, and those connections, they can really be a lifeline, especially when you're having doubts or facing a challenge you've never seen before.
Right. Who are you going to call? It's good to have people you trust.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got lean innovation, building a strong team culture, mastering some unusual marketing, and embracing community. It sounds like bootstrapping isn't about limitations at all. It's more like unlocking this hidden potential.
I love that because it's not about doing more with less. It's about that scrappy mindset. You got to be creative, resourceful, and solve problems in a new way.
Speaking of challenges, I have to ask, in the midst of all these super inspiring stories, were there any cautionary tales? Moments where bootstrapping took an unexpected turn? I mean, our listeners need to be ready for anything,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Bootstrapping, it's not always, sunshine and roses.
Right. There are going to be bumps in the road.
Definitely. But even those founders who had setbacks or faced really tough decisions, they all said those were really important lessons.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Failure is our friend, as they say, or at least a really tough teacher.
Exactly. So there was Chris Medor from MagnetWorks. Investors were really excited about their product.
Okay.
But the VCs, they wanted MagnetWorks to change up their pricing model. And that felt, I don't know, kind of inauthentic to Chris and their team.
So then they had a real crossroads moment. Stick to their guns and risk losing out on a big opportunity or compromise on their vision for maybe like faster growth. What did they choose?
They stayed true to themselves. They walked away from the deal.
Wow. See, that is a bold move, walking away from an investment like that. Did they ever regret it?
I think any founder, any entrepreneur, they're going to have moments of doubt, especially when you're making decisions that could make or break your company. But for Chris, it really came down to integrity. They believed in what they were building, and they wouldn't budge on their values, even if it meant a slower path.
I love that. It proves that the tough decisions, those are the ones that really show you what you're made of. But what about those founders who did eventually go with investors? Did they have any regrets?
It's interesting. Most of them saw venture capital as like one tool in the toolbox, a way to scale and grow faster, but not the only ingredient for success.
I see.
They were really intentional about when and why they decided to get funding, making sure it lined up with what they wanted long term.
So it wasn't just about taking a bag of money when it was offered. These founders kept control and used that funding on their own terms.
That's exactly it. And Renato Ferreira from Insight Sales, he had an interesting take. He'd worked with some VC-backed companies before and saw how sometimes that outside funding, it could distract companies.
Yeah.
Pull them in directions they weren't ready for.
That makes sense. I can see how that would happen.
So yeah, these founders, they weren't just chasing money, It was all about their own definition of success and what they were and weren't willing to compromise on. Just staying true to themselves.
I love that. This whole deep dive, it's been about way more than just like starting a business on a tight budget. It's about ingenuity. It's about believing in something, about making your own rules.
Totally. It shows you what people can do when they're creative, resilient, and, let's be honest, hustle really hard.
Yes. And for everyone listening, I hope this sparks that fire in you. What story from today stuck with you? Was it Lisa's take on influencer marketing? Maya building community right from the start? Whatever it is, how can you apply those same ideas to your own life? Maybe it's being a bit more resourceful, thinking outside the box, or just going after what you want, even if it's unconventional.
Don't be afraid to be scrappy.
Yes. And remember, just like with the bootstrapped budget, your possibilities, those are pretty much endless.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We hope you're feeling inspired and ready to take the next step toward your future career. Don't forget to join us every day for more insights, tips, and real-world advice to help you succeed. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and let Career Spotlight Academy guide you to success.